What's up, VC? Erik the Viking here. Yeah, it's about 6 PM here in London. It's been a pretty miserable day today. Raining most of the day. I've been stuck at work, although now the sun is deciding to come out at 6 PM. Yeah, I posted a couple of videos yesterday, and I've got to say thank you everyone who's been looking. I've had some awesome comments from you guys about my jazz records, which is great, man. I mean, it's really just really cool to chat to people that that are interested in what I've got back there, because obviously at record fairs and shops and that you meet a lot of people like that, but it's not often you get to brag about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's good stuff. Anyway, I was chatting to Dave, also known as DC or Fatbackfunk, awesome guy on here, about Fela Kuti. And I thought it's time to put up a video of my Fela stuff, and DC challenged me to do it, so here we are. Obviously you guys know about Fela, absolute legend, massive fan of the guy, and obviously I'm sure you know, like Sun Ra, Fela released a few hundred albums, just a crazy guy, prolific as hell. And I don't have a huge amount of his albums, but I do have a pretty nice collection. I've got all original pressing. I've got some nice Nigerian ones, which over here, well, anywhere, are very hard to find, especially in good condition. And I'll tell the story of how I got some of these Nigerian pressings. I got most of them off the same person. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm a big fan of Fela. Still looking out for his stuff all the time, but they are very hard to find. So yeah, I'll show you what I've got. I've got 2 singles, so I'll show you those first. Now, Fela's singles, he released quite a lot of singles in the 60s. There's a really awesome website. I can't remember what it's called, but if you just type in Fela Kuti discography on Google, it will come up, and it's details of everything he released, with scans of the labels and shit. I mean, he released a lot of singles in Nigeria in the 60s, and also in the early 70s, and some of them are tracks that were later on albums, but they're all different takes on the singles, and they currently are out of print everywhere. Sorry, I mean, I don't think they're on any compilations. I think one of them is on one of the Ghana Sounds compilations, I think Pogo Pogo, but I haven't even heard some of these tracks, so I've only got 2 singles, which I will show you now. The first one, this is the only Nigerian Fela single I have. This is a promo by the looks of it, because this is the only white label of this I've seen from 1970. It's not dated, but it's around 70, 71. This is Who Are You, part 1 and 2. This track was on Fela's London scene, which the album was obviously recorded in London in 71. But this is a different take, and I think this one was recording in Nigeria, so it's a completely different version. Funnily enough, I've had another copy of this as well, which was absolutely trashed, and then I picked this up, and this is a really nice copy, and it's not often you see these Nigerian singles in nice condition, and then I sold my trashed one, which was a sort of dark turquoise label, so I think this is a promo, so I'm quite pleased to have that. That's the only Nigerian Fela single I have, and I've got an English pressing of this track was actually recorded in London on the Regal Zonophone label, Egbe Mio, with Chop and Quench on the B-side. Again, these tracks were only released on this single. Sorry, I think they're on the Aphrodisiac album. I've got that in there. But these are edited versions, obviously, and these were recorded in England and produced by Jeff Jarrett, who produced quite a few legendary albums in England, including Syd Barrett's solo stuff. So that's quite a nice single. As you can see, someone's written Funky on the label, some sort of DJ name. But yeah, this is pretty rare. The only one I've ever seen, and it's a stock copy too, which is probably rarer than the promo, I'd say. So that's my Fela singles. Now to the albums. So, like I said, I've got some Nigerian pressings here. Here's one of them. These are in chronological order. Now, Fela's first album came out in '66 in Nigeria on the Parlophone label with his Kula Labitos band. And apparently, the story is, for a long time it was thought those recordings were unreleased until this album turned up. That's how obscure these early albums are. No, I don't have that. This is from '71. This is Na Poi, which I think means the sex or something like that, because that's definitely, the song is definitely about fucking. Awesome album, 1971. This is the original Nigerian pressing on HMV. It's an amazing story as to how I picked up these albums, and if you look, this is in pretty nice shape for its age. All the other copies I've seen of these shown up on eBay and whatever, I've only ever seen another copy show up, or another two. They were trashed, and these are pretty nice. The sleeves are a little worn, but not as bad as you'd think. Look, the seams are all intact. So I'll tell you how I got these Nigerian ones. Basically, I bought this, I found this one on eBay. Now, I'm sure you guys know these are worth big bucks. This was on here. You see, one of the tricks of eBay is, well, I just usually type in Fela when I'm looking for Fela stuff. Now, the woman that was selling these had only put this album on, and all she'd put on the auction title was Fela LP. So not many people had spotted it. I won it for £12. And she described it as only being in good condition, which by record collector grading standards is not that good. This is a VG plus at least. It plays brilliantly for a Nigerian pressing too. So yeah, basically I emailed her, not expecting her to have any. I said, do you have any more Nigerian Fela albums? And she had a few more, which I bought off her. I bought the whole lot of her for 100 quid. They basically belonged to her dad, who bought them at the time in Nigeria, and he moved to London and passed away a few years ago. So this was from his collection, and he definitely looked after them. But this was all he had, unfortunately. Otherwise, you know, because I'm into a lot of Afrobeat and that, so I would have bought whatever else was there, but that was all she had. Anyway, Fela's London Scene, from the same collection. Just a Nigerian pressing too. Yeah, and obviously this was, Fela came to London in '71, and I think he lived here. I don't know if he lived here, but he made 3 albums over here. He recorded 3 albums over here. Now, there's a rumour that this was actually released in England at the time, but I don't think it was. I've seen one show up that was on Parlophone, but it looks, I've seen one before, but I think it was an 80s pressing. Anyway, it sold for 300 quid, that pressing. So, I mean, this is, I've never seen another of these come up for sale. I'd say this is one of Fela's, definitely one of his more obscure albums, and it's a brilliant album. And this has got Who Are You on it, the single that I showed you, but a different take. And it says here, recorded at EMI's Abbey Road, London studio. Awesome album. And this was reissued in the States on the Makossa label later on, and even that's rare. So that's an awesome album. And obviously, all these albums are great. Right, now, English pressings. I've got probably the most common Fela album, or one of them. But now this is going for big bucks too. Fela Kuti with Ginger Baker live, recorded in London. Again, produced by Jeff Jarrett. This was, and that was stuck on there when I bought it. A horrible photo of Ginger Baker. Looks completely out of it, which he probably was. And the nice thing about this is it's got, someone's put original newspaper cuttings on the inner sleeve. This is how I got it. Anyway, English pressing on Regal Zonophone. This was the first Fela album I ever heard. I can't remember how I heard it. Again, this was when I was in college. I started wanting to check out more of this stuff. I'd always known about Fela. I heard about him when he died. I think I read his obituary in Mojo or something. And the name always stuck. It's one of those names you don't forget, you know. So anyway, this was the first album I heard. And I did have another pressing of this before. I had a Venezuelan pressing, which was beat to hell. But I played that until I picked up one of these. And even this is going, you get this for about £50, you know. But I think American pressings are a lot more common and a lot cheaper. They're on the Signpost label, but in terms of quality, these EMI Regal pressings are spot on. They're beautiful. So that's that. Now, another one on Regal that came out in England that is not as well known is, of course, Aphrodisiac, which is also recorded in London, and I don't think this had a Nigerian release. This is one of my favourite Fela albums. This is just brilliant. There's been many pressings of this. There's been I've seen French and German pressings, Spanish, Italian. I don't know if it was issued in the States, but yeah, this is Aphrodisiac, which has got Alu John, Jonky John, Chop and Quench, Ikoele, and Genre Timi. So yeah, that single I showed you, Egbe Mio, that is not on this album, so that is a single only track again. Although a live version of that track is on the Ginger Baker album. Anyway, yeah, I picked this up some years ago. I did pay about £40 for it, but I had to have it. And like I say, I haven't seen another copy since. And again, this is a mint pressing. The vinyl is beautiful. Regal was quite an eclectic label, really, because it started off as a classical label in the 20s, I think. Closed down, and then was revamped in the 60s by Tony Secunda, I think. And the Mover on it, and Tyrannosaurus Rex, Procol Harum, all that kind of stuff. And Fela. So this is from 72, so that's great. Now, more Nigerian pressings from the same collection. I've got the Epic Confusion. I've seen quite a few of these. Again, you know, this is still rare. It's hard to find in good nick, but I think this was one of his better selling albums. I mean, obviously all of his albums sold millions in Nigeria. But the great thing about this is it's got a record shop sticker on it from Lagos as well. Yeah, this album's great, and you know, it's separated in two halves on the vinyl. But it's the original Nigerian pressing on EMI. Now, I did see another copy of this at a record fair, which I didn't buy because it was beat, but all the pressings I've seen, if you can see at an angle, yeah, you see the bubbles in that? Now that looks fucked, but it actually plays with no problems. There's just bubbles in the vinyl. Quite common with Nigerian records. They're not brilliantly pressed, but it actually sounds really good. I can only begin to imagine how this must have sounded at the time, being blared out in the dance clubs and shit, because the bass line in this is heavy as hell. Great album. Just the one track as well. Next, my favourite Fela album, He Misrode. This is definitely one of the more in-demand Fela albums. This was produced by Ginger Baker. This is the original Nigerian pressing on HMV again. No, sorry, EMI, with another record shop sticker on the back from the same collection. Great photo there of Fela and his pals sitting having a smoke. Yeah, Fela in pants, listening with friends. Great stuff. I'll show you the label for this. It's the same as the one, slightly different colour. And this has got Monday Morning in Lagos, which is one of my favourite Fela tracks, just because it's so... This production is completely different to his other albums. Might have been Ginger's influence. There's a lot of reverb being used, a lot of panning and different effects. But yeah, Monday Morning in Lagos is one of my favourite Fela tracks, and that was another one that was released as a single in the early 70s as a different take, which I haven't got, obviously. So anyone who is as big on Fela as me, has any singles they've got spares of or anything, hit me up. I would definitely be interested. Okay, this album, next one, goes hand in hand with He Misrode, really. They were coupled on the reissue, the CD reissue. Expensive Shit, legendary. There's Fela with his 27 wives on the cover. This is the Nigerian pressing again on Sound Workshops. Got this from the same collection. Great photos of Fela having a fat smoke there on the back. I'm sure you know the story behind the title of this album and the song itself. Obviously Fela was a big target to the government in Nigeria at the time, and he didn't hide the fact that he smoked a lot of weed. And they took his shit for sampling, you know, so they thought they'd find drugs in it, and they didn't. As it says here, the men in uniform alleged I swallowed some quality of hemp. My shit was sent for lab test. Result negative, which brings us to Expensive Shit. And I'll show you the label because it's lovely. I don't know much about this label. There was only 2 Fela albums on this label. I've got the other one as well. Sound Workshop Records. Really nice. And this is a beautiful copy. And the only other copy I've seen in similar condition come up for sale went for a ridiculous sum of money. But this goes to show, even in shitty condition, these albums go for good money, because they're just hard to find. Although I've got a Nigerian friend who tells me, actually his father knew Fela. They lived in the same area in the 70s, and they used to go to the Shrine, his club, every Friday, or every Sunday I think, and they'd stay there till like 6 in the morning. Anyway, he tells me that his albums are very easy to find over there, obviously, because they sold so many, but I think people pick up on terrorists wanting them and do jack the prices up. You can still get them quite cheap, so one day I would love to go there. Same as I'd love to go to Brazil and buy records. Yeah, No Bread, this is on the Sound Workshop label as well, original Nigerian pressing. This is one of his least talked about albums, really, but it is really good too. And it's funny, this is a really nice copy too. Again, from the same collection. Couldn't believe my luck when I got these, really. So that's that. Great cover, great art there. Gentleman next. Now this is another one of my favourite Fela albums. Wish I could say I had the Nigerian pressing, but I don't. This is the first English pressing with a frankly awful sleeve. I don't know who came up with this design. Yeah, this is the English pressing on Creole. Still very rare. I haven't seen one since. So quite a few of his albums were starting to be pressed on the Creole label. Around 75, 76. There's quite a few of them. I've only got a few on the label. I think the other one is, yeah, I'll show that one next. Also on the label was Shakara, which I don't have, and Zombie. They're very rare. Awesome album though, worth it just for that track. And the other one I've got on that label is Everything Scatter, another favourite of mine. I paid about £20 for this. I mean, you can find, whenever they do turn up, they're quite, you know, they're not too expensive, but it's just finding them that's the problem. Just turn this down a little bit. There you go, Everything Scatter. Great stuff. I mean, yeah, that's the thing with Fela, once you're into him, that's it, you just want to hear everything. Yeah. Okay, another interesting one, which I didn't really know existed until I picked it up. I can't remember where I got this, but it wasn't cheap, it wasn't expensive. Yellow Fever. Now this is the first English pressing. Now in Nigeria, well, this is the thing, the Nigerian releases were on the Aphrodisiac label, although Aphrodisiac was manufactured by Decca. This is on Decca Phase 4 stereo, 1976. Now the Aphrodisia label, I've got one on that label which I'll show you in a bit, Aphrodisia. They were, if you look at the albums, you can tell they were actually pressed in England. They were just made over here and exported to Nigeria. But they are called Nigerian pressings, although technically they're English, which makes it confusing. But yeah, I mean, this is compared to the Nigerian pressing, I think the sleeve is pretty boring. I would happily swap this for a nice Nigerian pressing, but every one I've found has been wrecked. But yeah, it's a lovely example, and it's probably rarer than the Nigerian one. I haven't seen one since, but I would like to replace it with a Nigerian one, definitely. But yeah, that is immaculate. Yeah, the only one I have on Aphrodisia is Upside Down, probably the most common one on that label, which is actually, well, it's credited to Fela, but the A-side has got Sandra Akanki Isidore singing, which gives it a different kind of vibe. You know, it's a great album. But I've seen quite a few of these, you know, so again, this is Aphrodisia, but it is actually an English pressing. You can tell because it's got a laminated cover, and it even says sleeve printed in England, and it's got the Nigerian address for the actual label. But yeah, it says right there, made in England, right there. So you know this is an English pressing, really. But they were just sent to Nigeria, and beautiful label, Aphrodisia, and you can see at the bottom in small print, made in England. Great album, and this is a mint copy. I got this for about £20 as well, which I was very pleased with. But I've seen quite a few. I've had quite a few of these as well and sold them. So this is definitely one of the more common Fela albums, but still, people pay big bucks for it. Next up, of course, Zombie, legendary album. This is what got Fela in deep shit with the government. This is a Nigerian pressing on Coconut. Not the best example, as you can see, the top's a bit fucked. I did actually repair that myself. It was really torn. But this is one I got really cheap. I think it was in a charity shop or something. It's on the really nice Coconut label. Really nice label. Manufactured by Phonogram, yeah. But this vinyl is fucked. It is it's got heat marks on it, so it don't play too good. So I would like to get a nice copy of this, even in the English one on Creole, because it's got the same sleeve. Because I love the Nigerian, the original sleeve designs are great. All the artwork and everything. So I do need a better copy of that. Another Nigerian pressing which came from that collection, Unknown Soldier, with the great fold-out newspaper sleeve. That's Fela's mum there, which was after the government had stormed his complex and thrown her out of the window. Unbelievable the way they were treated. So this is great, great album, and it's on the Skylark label, Nigerian pressing. About 78 this is, I think. Yeah, so It's a Skylark label. That's a very small label. So yeah, that's a nice one to have. And now I've only got 2 more here. Another Nigerian pressing. Teacher Don't Teach Me No Nonsense. The sleeve is pretty shagged down here, as you can see. Nigerian pressing on Polygram from '86. Again, still hard to find. Well, it's actually Philips. There's a great clip of Fela on YouTube on here doing this live. Just watch it. It's not the whole performance, but it's awesome. I don't know where it's come from. It's been on YouTube for ages. You never know when it might get taken off. So yeah, that's that. And last but not least, Beasts of No Nation, another Nigerian pressing. I got this for a tenner. Now I think this is early 90s, late 80s. It's definitely one of the later ones, but 88 on his own Kuti, a label. Now I got this for a tenner, like I say. I think these the later albums here are a bit more common, but it's still rare over here, and this is mint. So that's that. That's my Fela collection, guys and gals. Like I say, I'm always after more Fela. So if any of y'all have any more Fela stuff, I would definitely be interested. And also, you know, post up your own Fela stuff. I want to see what everyone else has got. Let's compare notes, man. Speak soon. Peace.